Hello guys, welcome to yet another wonderful session of learning with Prep Class. My name is Tutor Olalikon Israel, your Prep Class English tutor, and I am super excited to have you join me in today's session of learning. Now, in today's session, we will be answering question 71 to question 75 from the WAEC English 2017 past question. Remember, the purpose of this session is to help you prepare for your forthcoming WAEC examination. So, without wasting much time, let's begin. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Alright, let's begin. Now, for question 71 to question 75, we have to read this passage and use the passage to answer the questions. Now, the instruction reads, in the following passage, the numbered gaps indicate missing words. Choose the word that is the most suitable to fill the numbered gaps in the passage. In the following passage, the numbered gaps indicate missing words. Choose the word that is the most suitable to fill the numbered gaps in the passage. Now, we will be answering just question 71 to 75 in this video. We will conclude with question 76 to question 80 in the next video. Now let's read. The farmer dashed the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until dash are carved out and crops are dashed, of fighting up the weeds and dash the tender crops from the pest, and of preparing the harvested crops in dash for long months could scare off the lily livered. Now, if you looked closely as we were reading the passage, you would see some number gaps 71 to 75. So we have to fill those number gaps with the appropriate and the most suitable option. So let's move on to the question. Question 71. The farmer dashed the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? Now, the options are A. Feeds, B. Tends, C. Nourishes, D. Develops. The answer is option A. Feeds. The farmer feeds the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. Now, the farmer feeds the nation because the nation is being sustained by what the farmer produces from their farms. So they feed the nation, they plant the crops, they nurture the livestock. So the answer is option A. The farmer feeds the nation. Alright, moving on to question 72. We are going to read from question 71 again and we'll move into question 72. The farmer feeds the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until dash are carved out. Now, the answer to this question is option C, ridges. Now, ridges in agriculture. A ridge is a strip of ground thrown up by a plow or left between furrows. A bed of ground formed by furrow slices running the whole length of the field, varying in breadth according to circumstances, and divided from another by gutters or open furrows parallel to each other, which last serve as guides to the hand and eye of the sower, to the reapers, and also for the application of manures in a regular manner. In wet soils, they also serve as drains for carrying off the surface water. Now, ridging is the process of creating a sand wall. It is the process of creating a sand wall on which a farmer will plant his trees. This concept will aid in the drainage of a wetland as well as improve the depth of the usable topsoil in an orchard with a shallow soil profile. So the answer is option C, ridges. The arduous task of turning the virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out. Alright, moving on to the next question, 73. The farmer feeds the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out and crops are dash A. Deposited, B. Planted, C. Lodged, D. Buried. So which of these options is the best to complete this sentence? Which of these options is the most suitable to fill the gap in this sentence? Now, the answer is planted. Crops are planted into the created ridges. Crops are planted. So planting is the burying of seeds in the ground so that it can grow. So the answer is option C. The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out and crops are planted. Alright, moving on to the next question, 74. The farmer feeds the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out and crops are planted, of fighting off the weeds and dash the tender crops from pests, A, and defending the tender crops from pests, B, and screening the tender crops from pests, C, and covering the tender crops from pests, D, and shielding the tender crops from pests. So which of these options is the best to fill the gap, is the most suitable to fill the gap in this sentence? Now, the answer is option D, shielding. Of fighting off the weeds and shielding the tender crops from the pests. Now, to shield means to protect from danger or risk. To shield means to protect from danger or risk. So the farmer performs the act of shielding, protecting the crops from pests. Farmers always try to shield their plants from being destroyed by pests through fumigation and other means, like making use of scarecrows also. So the answer is option D. Of fighting off the weeds and shielding the tender crops from the pests. Alright, moving on to the next question, 75. The farmer feeds the nation and can be said to be the most important professional. But how many people would make farming their first choice of profession? The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out and crops are planted, of fighting off the weeds and shielding the tender crops from pests, and of preparing the harvested crops in dash for long months could scare off the lily livered. A, barns, B, huts, C, pits, D, shelters. So which of these options is the most suitable to fill the gap in this sentence? Now, the answer is option A, barns. The arduous task of turning a virgin rainforest into a farmland, of battling the land until ridges are carved out and crops are planted, of fighting off the weeds and shielding the tender crops from pests, and of preparing the harvested crops in barns for long months to scare off the lily livered. Now, a barn is a large farm building used for storing grain, hay or straw, or for housing livestock. A barn is a large farm building used for storing grain, hay or straw, or for housing livestock. So the most suitable option is option A, barns. Alright, we will be applying the breaks here and we will continue in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Also, drop your questions in the comment section. Do not forget to share this post with your friends and loved ones. See you in the next video.